Welcome to the Privacy Report, and welcome to this week's Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something that's really shifted. It's gone from being maybe a niche tech thing to, well, basically a must-have defense for anyone online. Digital authentication. Look, if you're still just relying on a username and a password, even if you think it's a really strong password, it's not good enough anymore. It's critically insufficient. The old way, just passwords. It's kind of broken, isn't it? Overwhelmed by constant data breaches, really clever phishing scams, those credential stuffing attacks we hear about all the time. So our mission today really is to give you a sort of security overhaul, all in one go. We're going to unpack quickly but thoroughly the three key layers here. First, the basics, two-factor authentication, or 2FA. Then, the bigger picture, multi-factor authentication, MFA. And finally, the future, really, Passkeys, which aim to kill the password completely. The goal is you walk away from this knowing exactly what steps you can take, like right away, to make your digital life safer.
Absolutely, and it's really urgent. We're not talking theoretical future threats here. This is active risk right
Yeah.
now. Every single time a big company gets breached, what happens? Millions of passwords, often ones people reuse everywhere, they flood the dark web. So stronger authentication isn't just, a nice to have for people really into security. It's mandatory. It's basic survival online now. If you haven't set this stuff up, well, your risk level is pretty high. And for those of you listening who want to keep getting these kinds of insights, practical tips on protecting your identity and data after this deep dive, remember, we have an email newsletter for exactly that. You can subscribe, get that actionable advice straight to your inbox. Just head over to theprivacyreport.net.
Okay, right. Let's get into it then. We should probably start with the basics, the foundation, which is 2FA. Because honestly, that's what most people might have encountered if they've done anything at all. So we'll build from there. Then we'll look at MFA, which is kind of the next level strategy. And then, let's really dig into passkeys, because that's a huge shift, not just how they work, but how they change the whole game, hopefully for the better.
Right, so 2FA, let's call it the non-negotiable baseline. The name's pretty simple, two-factor, but the security boost it gives you, it's massive compared to the effort involved. Basically, it just adds one extra step when you log in. You need your password that's the something you know, plus a second thing, a second factor. And that second factor has to be from a different category. And the real power of 2FA isn't that it's super complicated. It's actually its simplicity in blocking the main way hackers get in. Even if someone guesses your password, maybe they bought it off the dark web from a breach, they still hit a wall, a complete stop. Because they don't have that second factor, right? Whether it's your phone or a little hardware key.
That one extra barrier, as you said, stops the vast majority of automated break-in attempts. It's probably the single biggest security improvement you can make for the time it takes.
Exactly. And once you decide, okay, I need 2FA, you need to understand there's a kind of hierarchy. Not all second factors are created equal, security-wise. It's really important for you, the listener, to grasp the differences, the risks, and benefits. So let's start at the bottom rung, security-wise. Still way, way better than just a password alone, but it's the weakest option. SMS codes. You know these? The temporary codes texted to your phone. They're convenient. Everyone's used them, but they are the least secure. Why? Well, the main weakness is the phone network itself. There's this attack called SIM swapping.
Yes, SIM swapping. Heard about that.
Right. It's basically social engineering. An attacker tricks your modal carrier, pretends to be you, and gets them to transfer your phone number over to a SIM card they control. Once they have your number, guess what? They get your 2FA text messages, and just like that, your account's compromised.
Yeah, that's scary stuff. That's precisely why we often say SMS is like a stopgap measure, right? It's better than nothing, but you shouldn't rely on it long term if you can help it. We've definitely seen horror stories, people losing access to crypto wallets or important social media accounts because someone pulled off a targeted SIM swap.
Exactly. The risk is real, especially if you have accounts that are high-value targets. So the recommendation is always, as soon as you can, upgrade, move up the ladder. The next step up is using authenticator apps. These are apps like Google Authenticator, Authy, maybe Microsoft Authenticator.
Okay, so how is getting a 6-digit code from an app more secure than getting a 6-digit code via text? They look the same. What's the actual difference under the hood?
That's a really good question because the security difference is fundamental. It's in how the code is generated. Authenticator apps use something called TOTP, time-based one-time password algorithm. When you first set up 2FA with an app for, say, your bank account, the bank server shares a unique secret key with your app, just once during setup. This key is usually shown as a QR code you scan. Crucially, that secret key is never sent over the network again. It stays locked inside the app's secure storage on your phone. Then whenever you need a code, the app takes that secret key, combines it with the current time, usually in 30-second intervals, and runs it through a standard mathematical formula. This calculation produces that unique 6 or 8-digit code that's only valid for that short window, like 30 seconds.
I see.
Because the code is generated locally on your device using that secret key and the time, it completely bypasses the phone network vulnerabilities. No SIM swapping risk, no text message interception risk. The only thing needed is for your phone's clock to be roughly in sync with the server's clock, which, modern phones handle automatically. The secret key stays safe. Only the temporary code gets used.
Right. The code is calculated, not transmitted over the vulnerable mobile networks.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. That's a huge security leap.
But okay, even that isn't the absolute top tier, is it? For people who need the highest level of security, maybe journalists dealing with sensitive sources or system admins protecting critical infrastructure, there's something even stronger. Hardware keys. Yes, exactly. Hardware keys are generally considered the gold standard. They offer, maximum protection because they introduce a truly physical element into the process. We're talking about small devices, often looking like USB sticks, like a YubiKey or Google's Titan security key. The core idea is simple. The second factor isn't just data on your phone, it's a physical object you have to possess and use. You either plug it into a USB port or tap it against your phone using NFC.
Okay, I get the physical part. An attacker across the world can't steal a physical key from my desk. That's obvious. But functionally, how is pressing a button on a key plugged into my laptop more secure than typing a code from an authenticator app, which we just established is already pretty secure against interception?
Great question. The key difference, pun intended, maybe lies in how hardware keys defeat more sophisticated phishing attacks.
Phishing, right. Okay.
So think about it. Even with an authenticator app code, a very, very convincing fake login page, a phishing site, could potentially trick you into typing in your password and that current 6-digit code. If you enter it fast enough, the attacker relays it to the real site and gets in. A hardware key, however, uses advanced security protocols, often built on standards called FIDO Fast Identity Online, or U2F, Universal Second Factor. When you plug in the key and tap it, the key itself does something clever. It performs a cryptographic check on the website domain, the actual URL that's requesting the authentication. So if the website looks like your bank, say bankofamerica.com, but the key detects the underlying connection is actually from bankofamerica.com, spot the typo, a fake phishing site.
Subtle.
The key simply refuses to send the necessary cryptographic response to log you in. It cryptographically verifies the authenticity of the site it's talking to. This makes hardware keys essentially phishing resistant by their very design. They bind the login to the legitimate domain, so even if an attacker gets your password and somehow even bypasses other checks, they still need that physical key, and you need to be on the real website for it to work.
Wow. Okay. So we've gone from a text message that can be hijacked to a code generated locally on your phone that avoids interception, all the way to a physical device that actually verifies the website's identity before it even participates in the login. That progression is really something. And yeah, I can see how that just shuts down those massive automated attacks trying millions of leaked passwords. They simply can't provide that second factor, especially not the hardware key one. All right, so we got a solid grasp on 2FA now. That's the essential first step. But let's broaden the scope to multi-factor authentication, MFA. You mentioned earlier people often use 2FA and MFA interchangeably, but they're not quite the same. What's the key distinction there? Why does MFA offer even more resilience?
Right, it's a common point of confusion. Think of it like this. 2FA is a specific type of MFA. 2FA by definition means two factors. MFA is the broader umbrella term, meaning two or more factors. But the really crucial part of true MFA isn't just the number, it's the diversity of the factors.
Diversity. How so?
True MFA requires the factors to be drawn from different categories of authentication. Just having, say, a password and a PN isn't really strong MFA because both are something you know. It's better than one, sure, but not ideal.
Okay, so it's not just adding more locks, it's adding different kinds of security, like having a lock plus maybe a security camera plus a guard dog.
That's a perfect analogy. The power of MFA lies in using factors from distinct categories. If an attacker compromises one type of factor, they still face completely different hurdles for the others. And traditionally, we break these factors down into three main categories. Category 1 is something you know. This is the classic one. Passwords, PINs, answers to secret questions. It's information stored in your head. But, as we know, this is often the weakest link, easily forgotten, written down, guessed, phished, or stolen in breaches.
Okay, it makes sense. The knowledge factor.
Category 2 is something you have. This refers to a physical item you possess. Your smartphone getting an authenticator app code counts. The hardware security key we just talked about is a prime example. Could also be a smart card or even a specific company ID badge with an embedded chip. The security assumption here is that an attacker needs to physically get hold of this item, which is much harder than stealing data remotely. It escalates the attack significantly.
Right, the possession factor, your phone, your key.
And category 3 is something you are. This is biometrics, your unique biological traits. Fingerprints, face recognition like Face ID, iris scans, maybe even voice patterns, these are inherent to you. While, no system is perfect, some biometrics can potentially be spoofed with enough effort. They're generally very difficult to replicate, especially remotely, and they can't be stolen from a database in the same way a password can.
The inherence factor, your fingerprint, your face. Okay, so MFA aims to combine factors from at least 2, ideally all 3, of these categories. Know, have, are.
Exactly. That's where the real strength lies.
Can you walk us through a concrete example? Maybe something like logging into a really secure system, like a corporate network or a financial trading platform that might use true MFA.
Sure, absolutely. Imagine a high-security scenario. Let's say accessing sensitive company data remotely. First, the user enters their complex passphrase. That's something you know. Now, the system might notice the login attempt is coming from an unusual network or a different country than usual. That could trigger an escalation. So step 2, it prompts the user to insert their company-issued smart card into a reader. That's something you have. But maybe it goes even further for maximum security. Step 3, before the smart card is fully accepted, the system requires the user to place their thumb on a fingerprint scanner connected to the laptop. That verifies something you are. Only after the fingerprint match does the smart card release the final cryptographic key needed to complete the login.
Wow. Okay, so in that case, an attacker needs the password, and they need to have physically stolen the smart card, and they need to somehow fake the user's fingerprint.
Precisely. They have to breach 3 fundamentally different types of security. They'd need skills in digital hacking for the password, physical theft or interception for a card, and potentially sophisticated forgery techniques for the biometric, all for one login.
You can see why businesses, especially, are pushing hard towards MFA. It really embodies that defense-in-depth principle. It's not just about having multiple locks. It's about having locks that require completely different keys and skills to pick. It makes the attacker's job exponentially harder, costlier, and probably much noisier, increasing the chances they get caught.
Exactly. It shifts the economics. Most cybercriminals go for low-hanging fruit. Strong MFA makes you a much less attractive target.
Okay, so 2FA is essential. MFA is robust. But both, fundamentally, usually still start with that age-old problem, the password. The password is the something you know factor, and it's inherently flawed, right? It's a shared secret. It can be phished, stolen in breaches, people reuse them everywhere, hackers guess them. It's often the initial weak point. Which brings us to the really exciting part, this major shift happening right now, passkeys. And passkeys aren't just another factor to add on top. The whole point is to replace the password entirely, to just get rid of that weak link. And in doing so, they promise to be inherently resistant to phishing.
That's absolutely right. Passkeys feel like the culmination of decades of trying to fix the password problem. They move us away from shared secrets and towards unique, device-bound cryptographic proof. The technology behind them is public key cryptography. It's the same super secure math that protects things like HTTPS websites, secure email, nearly everything secure online. But now it's being applied directly to logging you in.
Okay, cryptography sounds complicated, but for me, the user, what does it actually look like? If I'm not typing password 123 anymore, what am I doing instead? And how is that actually secure?
The user experience is designed to be, well, much simpler, actually. Instead of remembering and typing a unique, complex password for every site, you just use your device to authenticate. Your phone, your tablet, your laptop. The website recognizes you want to log in, and you unlock the process using whatever you normally use to unlock that device. So typically that's a quick fingerprint scan or a face scan like Face ID, or maybe just entering your device's PIN code. It feels just like unlocking your phone, but poof, you're logged into the website or app.
Okay, that sounds easy. Maybe too easy. What's happening behind the scenes to make that secure?
That's where the cryptographic magic comes in. It's a 2-part process. First, when you create a passkey for a service, let's say, setting it up for your Google account, your device, your phone or computer, generates a unique pair of cryptographic keys. Think of them as mathematically linked puzzle pieces. One piece is the public key. This key is sent to Google and stored on their servers. It's public, knowing it doesn't help an attacker. The other piece is the private key. This is the crucial one. It stays securely locked on your device and is designed never to leave it. It's often stored in special secure hardware, like Apple's Secure Enclave, or a similar chip on Android or Windows devices.
Okay, public key on the server, private key on my phone. Got it.
Now, when you want to log in, Google sends a challenge to your device. Your device uses its securely stored private key to cryptographically sign that challenge. But it will only do that after you successfully authenticate to the device itself using your fingerprint, face, or PIN. That proves you are authorizing the use of the private key. Your device then sends the signed response back to Google. Google uses your public key, which they already have, to verify the signature. If the math checks out, they know the request came from the device holding the correct private key and that you authorized it. Login successful.
Okay, so Google never sees my password because there isn't one, and they never see my fingerprint or face scan either.
Exactly. That's the critical privacy point.
Because, let's be honest, the moment you say use your face to log into Google, people get nervous. They immediately think, oh great, now Google has my face scan data stored on their servers forever. We really need to hammer this point home.
Absolutely. And this is perhaps the most important misunderstanding to clear up about passkeys. Your biometric data, your fingerprint template, your face map, or even your device PIN code never leaves your device. It's stored and processed entirely within that secure hardware element we mentioned, the Secure Enclave or Trusted Platform Module, TPM. This is a physically separate, tamper-resistant chip on your device, isolated from the main operating system and the internet. When you scan your face, your phone just performs an internal check. Yep, that's the authorized user. It then allows the private key, stored in that same secure chip, to be used for the cryptographic signing. The website, Google, PayPal, whoever only ever receives the signed cryptographic response based on the public key. They never get the raw biometric data. They don't store it. They don't see it. This isolation is fundamental to why passkeys are considered both secure and privacy preserving.
Okay, that's a massive relief and a really key distinction. The biometrics unlock the key on the device. They aren't sent to the service. And this isn't just like an Apple thing or a Google thing, right? This is built on open standards, so it works everywhere.
Yes, that's crucial for adoption. The whole system is built on open standards developed by the FIDO Alliance, which includes pretty much every major tech player, Google, Apple, Microsoft, banks, security companies, everyone. The core web standard is called WebAuthn, Web Authentication API, which is part of the broader FIDO2 project. This means it's designed to be interoperable. A passkey you create on your Windows laptop using Windows Hello should ideally be usable to log in on your iPhone and vice versa, often using QR codes or Bluetooth to bridge the devices temporarily if needed. This standards-based approach is why passkeys are seen as the long-term future, not just another proprietary solution. So let's quickly recap the killer benefits, why this is such a leap forward. Benefit 1, incredible phishing resistance. We touched on this with hardware keys, but passkeys bake it in. The cryptographic process binds the login into the specific legitimate website domain. A fake phishing site, even a perfect pixel-for-pixel copy, simply cannot generate the correct challenge or validate the response because its domain doesn't match the one registered with the public key. So even if you're tricked into trying to use your passkey on a fake site, the login will just fail cryptographically.
Okay, so that basically neutralizes the most common type of credential theft attack online. That's huge.
Huge. Benefit 2, true breach resistance. Remember how breaches leak millions of passwords? Well, with passkeys, the server doesn't store passwords. It only has your public key. If that server gets hacked, the attackers steal public keys, which are useless for logging in without the corresponding private keys locked on your personal devices. There's simply no shared secret to steal that would let them impersonate you.
Right. Nothing valuable to leak in terms of login credentials.
Exactly. And benefit 3, which might be the most important for getting people to actually use it, it's just easier. No more making up complex, unique passwords you instantly forget. No more fumbling with authenticator apps to copy-paste codes before they expire. Logging in becomes almost instant. Tap the login button, glance at your phone, or touch the sensor. Done. This improved user experience is key. When the secure way is also the easiest way, people actually use it. Security improves dramatically across the board.
Okay, it sounds pretty amazing. But what about the what-ifs? What if I lose my phone or my laptop dies? Is my passkey, that private key, gone forever? Am I locked out of my accounts? And doesn't relying on, say, Apple or Google to handle this create a different kind of lock-in?
That's a very fair and critical question. And yes, in the very early days of passkeys, device loss was a major concern. If the private key only existed on that one device, losing it was catastrophic. However, the standards and implementations have evolved specifically to address this. The solution is secure passkey synchronization. Major platform providers like Apple, using iCloud Keychain, and Google, using Google Password Manager, can securely sync your passkeys across all the devices you've registered and trust. This synchronization itself is end-to-end encrypted using keys derived from your device lock or account credentials, meaning neither Apple nor Google can actually access or read your private keys during the sync process. They just facilitate the secure transfer. So if you lose your phone, you can get a new one, sign into your Apple or Google account, and your passkeys should sync back down, allowing you to log into your services again. Or you could use another one of your sync devices, like a tablet or laptop, to manage your account or remove the lost device. It solves the device loss problem while maintaining a high level of security. But yes, it does mean you're placing trust in the security architecture of your chosen sync provider, Apple, Google, Microsoft, or maybe a dedicated password manager that supports passkey sync. So choosing a reputable platform remains important.
Okay, we've covered the Tech 2FA, MFA, Passkeys. We know what they are and how they work. But now, let's get really practical. Why do this today? What's the immediate action plan for you, the listener? I think there's one stat that really drives it home. Research consistently shows that enabling even basic app-based 2FA can block something like 99% of automated account hijacking attempts. 99%. That's just an incredible return for maybe 5 minutes of setup per account. It highlights that most attacks aren't sophisticated, targeted efforts. They're broad, automated attempts exploiting weak or stolen passwords. 2FA stops those cold.
Absolutely. And to make this manageable, because trying to secure every single online account at once is overwhelming, we need a clear prioritization strategy. Don't worry about your obscure forum login from 10 years ago just yet. Focus on impact. So step 1, secure your crown jewels first. What are the most critical accounts? Your primary email address is almost always number 1. Why? Because it's the key to resetting passwords for almost everything else. If an attacker gets your email, they can often take over your entire digital life. Lock that down first. Next, financial accounts. All of them. Your bank, your credit cards, investment platforms, payment systems like PayPal or Venmo, anywhere money is involved. Then think about important social media, especially if it's linked to your identity or business, and cloud storage accounts where you keep personal files or photos. Prioritize based on potential damage, financial loss, identity theft, reputational harm. Start there.
Okay, solid first step. Prioritize. What's step 2? Step 2 builds directly on our earlier discussion. Upgrade your 2FA method. If you're currently using SMS codes for any of those critical accounts identified in Step 1, make it a priority this week to switch. Wherever possible, change to an authenticator app. Use Authy, Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, or even the built-in TOTP generator in many password managers. This single change dramatically reduces your exposure to SIM swapping and other SMS-based vulnerabilities. It's a significant security upgrade.
Step 3 is about assessing if you need the next level. Consider hardware keys. Ask yourself, do I handle highly sensitive information for work? Am I responsible for significant financial assets, maybe cryptocurrency? Am I a potential target for more sophisticated attacks due to my role or profile? If the answer is yes to any of these, investing in a couple of hardware keys like YubiKeys is probably worthwhile.
Yeah.
They offer that phishing-resistant gold standard. It's a small cost for top-tier protection against advanced threats. Always get at least 2 so you have a backup.
Right, have a backup key stored safely. Good point. And the final step, looking ahead. Step 4 is embracing the future now. Adopt passkeys wherever available. Start actively looking for the option to create and use passkeys. Major services are rolling this out rapidly. Google, Apple, Microsoft accounts, PayPal, eBay, Amazon, Best Buy. Many password managers like 1Password and Dashlane. When you see the prompt to create a passkey, do it. It's generally simpler, definitely faster day to day, and fundamentally more secure than any password-based system, even with 2FAMFA layered on top. Look for the FIDO logo or mentions of passkey or WebAuthn in the security settings of your important accounts. Make the switch proactively.
It's helpful to think about this whole process like securing your home. A password alone is like having a flimsy lock on your front door that maybe keeps honest people out. Enabling 2FA is like adding a deadbolt. Much better, stops casual attempts. Implementing strong MFA across different categories is like having the deadbolt plus window locks, maybe a security system, requires more effort from an intruder. And moving to passkeys, that's like reinforcing the door, upgrading the locks to something unpickable, and maybe adding security cameras that verify who who is actually at the door. You're not necessarily trying to become Fort Knox against a dedicated state-sponsored attack, but you are raising the barrier significantly. You're making your accounts so much harder and more costly to breach that the vast majority of automated attackers and casual criminals will just give up and move on to easier targets. You take yourself out of the pool of low-hanging fruit.
That's a great way to frame it. So boiling it all down, what's the core message here? It seems clear. Digital threats are relentless, they're mostly automated, and they prey on weak or reused passwords. That's the reality. But the good news is the tools to defend yourself are readily available, increasingly easy to use, and incredibly effective. By enabling 2FA, using strong MFA methods, and especially by adopting Passkeys, you are dramatically, fundamentally lowering your personal risk online. And often, you're making logging in faster and less annoying in the process.
Exactly. It's that rare win-win. Better security and better convenience. Hashtag outro. So we've traced this evolution, haven't we? From simple passwords, just shared secrets, through adding factors like codes and physical tokens, all the way to passkeys, which use sophisticated device-bound public key cryptography based on global standards like FIDO and WebAuthn. The technology now exists, and it's being deployed rapidly, to make securing your digital life not only more robust, but actually easier than it's ever been before, which really leads to a fascinating question, something for you to think about. Now that these powerful, user-friendly tools are becoming widely available tools that largely eliminate the traditional vulnerabilities if someone doesn't use them and gets hacked through a method that 2FA or a passkey would have easily prevented, where does the responsibility really lie now? Has digital security shifted from being a complex technical challenge to more of a conscious choice about adopting readily available best practices?
That's a really powerful thought to end on. The question of responsibility in this new era of accessible security. It definitely underlines the point. The sooner you integrate these modern protections, moving decisively beyond just relying on that single password, the safer and more secure your digital presence will inevitably be. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the new era of digital authentication. Please remember to like and subscribe to the Privacy Report wherever you get your podcasts. That way, you won't miss future deep dives, and you'll stay informed on these absolutely critical security and privacy topics. Until next time, stay safe and secure online.